Yeah, that's what laid my coat on. The heat just can't talk.
Man standing behind his product, making sure it's getting going. Yeah.
Exactly. Just want to make sure, check sound levels.
Okay, yeah. Adjustments easy.
Morning.
Morning.
Hey, Stace, how are you?
I forgot my coffee. Oh. Hi, Daryl, right? Stacy. How are you doing? How's the installation going here?
Good.
Yeah. Is it in or?
It's in, it's running.
Oh.
Just came by.
Oh, am I on camera?
You are.
I'm ready for my close-up.
Sister DeVille.
I didn't know if you knew that. Yeah, you're old enough. Yeah.
Sadly, yes.
Daryl's probably like, what is she talking about?
Oh my God, it's a full house.
I know, we got people.
Are we running?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. I should look at it. I wanted to see the refocusing. I can look after. Are we staying in this order?
I don't know. They were just sitting there like that.
It's cold in here.
We're going to be here about a minute, probably.
That's true. Let's save the money.
$50.
You got your coat on. You're okay. So have you met everybody? Okay.
Because this is a giant stage. Get out in, we can keep them up with,
Yeah,
Grand Rapids at 9,
Take place on the TV.
well, it's just my thing. So I can get up really fast and walk, man.
Couldn't do it, yeah. So now, I think it's a good temporary solution. This is, and these are important. Right now, budget.
This is your courses.
Sewer master metering project. Right. It's all coming together. Yeah. So who are the two city reps? So Saugatuck, Mark Becken, right? He is the chair of LA. Okay. Barry Johnson.
What's his
Yep.
name?
And Douglas is Bill with Beaver. Yep.
Did he stay home?
First part.
Yeah, right.
I
Was he
don't know.
partying last night?
I was on the harbor during the bar. Yeah. No, Barry for Okay.
Aw. Yeah. Uh-huh.
He woke up at like 10:30 and was like, I'm too hot. I'm like, well, then just take that off.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Crawl back in bed and,
You made it.
I know, it wasn't easy either, I'll tell you. I wasn't happy.
Oh.
I had to go all last week and get up and howling in Grand Rapids by 9 every day. And so it's something
right.
I did about having this.
Well, this is closer.
True. Yeah.
Just needed a forum, today.
Well, I probably couldn't.
That's
have
true.
To go.
Except we're down.
Yeah.
Bill's probably not coming.
I don't think so.
It could.
Oh.
Well, it's nice to see.
I'm dressed.
It's nice to see.
Done. I almost came in my walking clothes and I thought, yeah, I better not do that. You saw that the other day when I did stop in. Max and I came in. Oh,
Show up in your PJs.
Well, I walk. I got, get out of bed and throw clothes on and go for a hike.
So since I have you guys already.
Yeah.
So the sewer master metering project, I don't know if you've seen that yet.
Yeah. And then something came in Friday about it. I mean, new information.
Yeah. On Thursday, Cal Lake's attorney sent out all the revisions to the resolutions, which updated the dollar amounts. the attorney and I didn't like what engineers have provided us, and we hired comments back from a couple of public officials. Wednesday night, or Thursday night into Friday morning, so I went right to the top at the engineering firm and said to the president, look, this project isn't going to apply unless you better and more supporting documentation. The president of the engineering firm okayed that. That went back and to us, to the attorney, and then the attorney took that information and sent that back out to us for supporting information.
Okay.
What I did last week is I asked our financials what and how much Cal Lake has forwarded on to the township for the water and sewer bills that we collect on township's behalf. So I have that if you guys need that information. What we Cal Lake, I don't like to hold on to other people's monies, and that's kind of how things have been flying for some time. And about 2-3 years ago, I was like, well, we don't want to be holding on to large, copious amounts of money for other people, whether it's the township or Saugatuck or Douglas. So, about quarterly, right now, I try to do it on a monthly basis. Last year, I was talking with Joe, Joe that works for Cal Lake, and I was looking at it, he was doing it about quarterly. Just because they're dollar amounts. When I get over $10,000, I want to.
Hey, Gerald, I'm going to call this meeting to order, and then we'll have you for public comment. So I'll call the special meeting of Saugatuck Township Board to order for Monday, January 14th, 2019 at 9 a.m. The Township Board has called a special meeting to appoint Chris Rohrig as the temporary township representative to the Kalamazoo Lake Sewer and Water Authority. Let the roll call show all are present with the exception of Clerk Bill Wester. Open up for public comment and allow extended time for Darrell so that he can have some public comment.
So our finances, Saugatuck Township, and I don't know the year or the date, but I know since about, I think 2001, 2002, have been collecting water fees for the township, for the township's water funds.
About $61K annually in our water project funds.
Is there 61,000?
Annually is what we collect.
That sounds about right.
And then about 32K on the sewer side.
Yeah, we haven't figured that one out yet because this will be, so about a year and a half ago, Saugatuck Township started up a sewer, doing the same thing on the sewer side to be able to pay for some of the sewer assets in the future. And it took, because of the way BS&A billing is structured, it took Cal Lake, it took us a while to get our BS&A up to running to be able, we had to create the billing item in the accounting software. It took us a while, and when I didn't want to do 1 month in the previous year, so we started it with a calendar year. It may not be great on fiscals, but it didn't cycle with anybody's fiscals, but at least it cycled with a calendar year. We got it installed, and the residents of Saugatuck Township were being billed on the sewer side. I have that dollar amount from what my Joe Lamb has paid and took it out of the BSNA funds and transferred it over to the township. I only saw 3 payments. It looks like we give out quarterly, so you should see another one where we just zero out your account. We have an account. Everything went billing, utility billing to be, if it was just us, it's pretty simple, but every month you give out a bill, and it's always in arrears. You use it, and then we bill you for it, whether it's water and or sewer. And then we have to wait a month for people to send their money in. So everything's about a month to 2 months in delay.
So when you make the payment to zero out, how is that payment actually made?
By check.
It is a check,
Yes.
okay. And then,
That's what Joe prefers.
okay, no, that's great. And then the plan now moving forward in 2019 is to do it, try to do monthly, or
Well, it's been my goal, is the dollar amount,
unless there's not,
if it's, I mean, if to write a check for a couple $100, I can do that, but what we, you know, what I saw from Joe, he wrote a check for water, wrote a check for sewer, so that you can keep your water and sewer separate. And that's how if Joe hadn't been doing that, that's how I'm going to suggest it, so that for your own accounting purposes, you get a check for water and a check for sewer. That
Okay.
way it keeps things a little bit more organized.
no, I like that, that's good.
Even if Joe has been writing one check because it saves us, 10 cents on it, well, it all adds up. It can be, it will show up on, we can always tell you how much of that dollar amount is water.
Because we keep separate funds for the purpose of
Yep, you should.
making sure that those funds are available for those specific purposes. For instance, we're at 97,119 year-to-date in the sewer fund, and I see we got 100 and some thousand due to the meter.
Yeah,
Fortunately, there's money coming in
yep,
at, I think, $350 per customer a month, roughly.
something like that, yeah.
So that could build up by the time that payment's due, but if we don't get it from there, we gotta go to general fund.
Yep, and so that's what when I looked at how much Cal Lake had given to the township over the past year, knowing that this has been the first full cycle year of sewer, I knew that, and I saw the dollar amount on the master meter project for the township, I knew that you guys weren't gonna have enough money. What you can do, and it is legal, you just have to let and notify your accountant so that you can track this. You can have, I'm assuming, I don't know what the township's dollar amounts are in their water funds, but you can essentially, it's borrow money from the water fund to pay for the sewer. In the future, you gotta pay that money back to the water fund.
Yeah, our water fund's at 161,343. And we just spent 15.5 on a study, so there is money there to go against it. The water project fund, not the debt fund.
Okay. I can speak a little bit, I know this might be a little bit off topic, but, I can speak to the sewer master metering project if you guys would like me to, so I can explain it to the township. This project, I kinda alluded to it at the first meeting this month. This project has been an important one, it's been one, that's been in the books since 2012 with the sewer agreement. And each community have their own, in a utility arrangement similar to what we have here, where Cal Lake, where you have one entity running operations for everybody's separate water infrastructure. And everybody has, their own influence into a sewer system or a water system. You wanna know how much, who's using what, how much. And it's taken a while to get us here. There are some people that didn't, there's some entities or individuals that weren't too interested in it. The township, and I was expressing this to Aaron, from the numbers that I can see, which are very easily arguable and would hold up in court. I was looking at the township, and I was pretty sure that the township is between 90 to 100% of its at the capacity of the allotted sewer capacity at the wastewater plant, somewhere between 90 and 100. I could not tell specifically, and that's actually a pretty big spectrum when we look at sewer flows. To have a 10% gas factor, it's a pretty big swing. There's also some other,
It's based on what goes in from the water side?
yes, yeah.
So you don't account for any leakage, any transmission losses, any...
Stormwater, those are things that I cannot figure out. Stormwater influences. Stormwater is not metered, obviously, and some pumps, people may have some pumps in their basements that goes into this. It's not something that, it ends up coming to the wastewater plant, and it ends up eating up a community's capacity. And once that capacity gets eaten up, somehow you have to make for more capacity. You're either doing expansion at the wastewater plant, which will run millions of dollars, or you try to create conservancy, meaning where people are, you go back through all the buildings that have sump pumps and you get them to disconnect. They're all their sump pumps, which can be a political hot potato. And can be expensive. The other thing too is what I was seeing is that I also suspected another adjacent community that utilizes Saugatuck Township's sewer system is over their capacity, which would then influence Saugatuck Township's capacity. Laketown Township flows into Saugatuck Townships, and there's agreements and arrangements, which are kind of convoluted. But that's where I was suspecting that's what's eating up some of Saugatuck Township's capacity.
How much would you?
I can't say at this time.
No.
I have a guess. Pride and Newhoff had done a study also this past year, about a year ago, for expansion of the Lake Town's sewer system for development. And they were also not comfortable saying a number. We're all like, because they're inferred, they're not direct capacity numbers. So we all won't stand on our numbers. We can say, look at something and say, yeah, it's casting a shadow, and if the shadow's over here. That's why we have to have meters, because meters will tell us the fine numbers.
So how big is that shadow?
I'd say the shadow's covering probably, the shadow is somewhere around 5 to 10%.
That's a lot. Okay. And you said we have current agreements in place for that sewer capacity of both the township and Laketown.
Yeah.
And are those incorporated in any of your agreements?
We got, yes, Laketown is a part of the current sewer agreement. It took an additional 4 years and more legal expenses to get Laketown to agree.
So, do you recall our agreement allows them that 5 to 10%?
It shouldn't. There's numbers and everything. This is like saying, off the top of my head, I want to say Saugatuck Township has I think it's 90,000 or 100,000 gallons per day capacity at the wastewater plant. Laketown has 35,000 gallon capacity from them. And if I remember right, I think there's agreement between Laketown and Saugatuck Township. If Laketown is at 50,000 gallons a day, then Cal Lake will have to take action against Laketown. That also eats up some of Saugatuck Township.
So the bottom line is, until we start metering, we're just guessing.
Yes.
Once we start metering, not only do we have accurate data, but you have data that you can enforce against the users.
Yes.
Which protects us, or it could hurt us, but probably protect us.
Right. In the long run, it should protect the township. It's a good planning tool. There's these legal issues about capacity, but it's also used for planning tools in a community-wide. Wastewater is just one of those things that's one of those community development issues that if you're going to have sewer, you have to have the capacity for it. And you have to figure out a way to create it or fund for it, be able to purchase it or build it, essentially.
Is there excess capacity in the overall system amongst all the users?
The wastewater plant has a 1 million gallon per day capacity as permitted by the DEQ. I'm just throwing out some rough numbers. Douglas is about 500,000, so 500,000 gallons a day. Saugatuck, city of Saugatuck is, I think, somewhere around 350,000 gallons. And then it's all the capacity of the wastewater plant is at 100% for the allowance. Everybody, it's all been divvied up. It's all been sought through, figured out by attorneys and who has what and how much. that's where if the township is at 100%, which I think is fairly close to it, we gotta figure out who's interfering with the true capacity of the township. The pie is so big. If you think of the wastewater plant as a pie, Douglas has half that pie. City of Saugatuck has about a third.
Okay.
And then that last portion is divvied up between the two townships.
But either way, if it's at, if we're close to 100%, even if we're at 90% a day, that just doesn't allow for a ton of growth.
Correct.
That's where you're saying that is used as a tool for future,
Now, when you say wastewater, that's stuff that runs down the street into those little,
That's stormwater.
that's stormwater, is that wastewater?
That's not wastewater.
So wastewater is sewage?
Sewage, what you flush down toilets.
Okay.
And a lot of us have septic, right? So,
that's why our piece of pipe.
it's so little.
Yes.
But any new development, if a new subdivision comes in, they have to hook up, correct, or?
It
Is that-
doesn't, that's
a health
because of,
issue.
if you were in a city, typically that's what would happen. Because the township's a rural area, you don't have, you can't put a blanket, planning, criteria saying you need more development, you have to hook up to the wastewater plant because the area is so large. There's houses out, way out that you're not gonna run a pipe to the wastewater plant. It's very cost prohibitive.
It could be in front of you, then you don't have to hook up, correct? If
There
you're
are-
already there, and
yeah.
but if you're a new, like if I build a new house and there's available, do I have to hook up?
Yeah, so it's the health department, and usually the township, you're utilizing the health department's rules and regulations, which are also, it's actually feds pass stuff down to the states, and states pass it down to the counties. And if a property is being developed within 300 feet of the public utility, they have to connect. And that's for public health issues. If it's available within 300 feet, they have to connect.
And are you saying a personal homeowner's fee for that might be $350 a month?
No.
Oh, I thought I
I
heard
heard
that.
that.
And I thought.
Townships, we receive.
Oh, okay.
See, we get fees in two ways. One is every time they hook up, we get a hookup fee.
Okay.
And then we get this capital fee. Now, that's to build up this fund so that, like, we gotta replace all those lead lines.
Yeah.
Where would that money come from?
Right.
We have to assess, but we can't do that because this is state mandated, so we're supposed to pay for it. So we have to come out of the general fund or borrow or whatever. But what we've been doing is storing these funds for the eventual replacement of that pipe. Good news is that we have a lot of new pipe. If you're in the city, one of the two cities, you got a real problem because you got a lot of old pipe. And they've got to figure out how to pay for that. We have always taken the money, we've always believed that the people who have the service own that service. And so we've taken that money and set it aside, so when they need to replace their infrastructure, we have the money available to do that. And that's a good financial practice.
Yes. That's how you want to
How you do it?
fund and structure utilities. It's a little bit more complicated here because we got the Cal Lake and then you got Cal Lake has the operational burden right now, and then each community has to fund for their assets. And Saugatuck Township is the only community that's funding for their assets. And I compliment the township on doing that because it's work. Otherwise you end up like, what?
We could scramble to find the money somewhere. You're either gonna delay in one case, or
You loan or you take out
problem
loans.
somewhere else. Yeah.
There's communities that have take out loans to do projects like this to the extent that they can't get out from underneath loans.
So the problem that we have right now is that we've got discretionary projects, which maybe this water extension, we don't have to do it. Water extension over here. We've got mandatory projects, and the mandatory are this metering project, because we have agreements with Kelly that we have to do it. There's no way to get out of it. And then this lead copper replacement project, the states have mandated that be done. So fortunately, it looks like we have, until we don't know about the lead yet, but we'll get that, we're doing a study to find out what that impact is. And it looks to me like we may have borrowed about $20,000 from the water fund to do the metering project. It looks like the money's there, but
With the metering project, we'll save us money,
I
potentially, hopefully,
I
fingers
think,
crossed.
boy, I hope so.
So there's, to me, when I look at this metering project, you wanna know how much that you are occupying at the wastewater plant to make sure that you're within that allotted amount. There's some other there's other reasons for this project, and that is one, to try to minimize the ability for, discourse between the communities. And when there's a lot of discourse, you end up being a lot of legal fees. The activity of Lake Town and their administrator has cost a lot of legal expenses. I think the township has incurred a lot, and Cal Lake has incurred a lot.
And we're not done with Lake Town. There's still some issues going on.
Yeah, and there's been the historical issue with Douglas also, and that never got resolved. And Cal Lake took the financial burden on a legal settlement. That was the burden of Douglas, and it's been turned, and because of activities on that administrator, Cal Lake ended up taking on the legal burden, some financial legal burdens that, for the SRF project, and that was creating a sewer agreement, that Cal Lake ended up taking on in a short term, very quick turnaround. So there's all these intertwinings.
You know, one of the reasons that I think is important to meter is that let's find out what, we're kind of guessing at what the capacity is for everybody. Let's find out what it is. And if someone has excess capacity, if you're the city of Saugatuck and you don't need any more sewer capacity, you can trade that. We happen to have access to a lot of good water, and if someone needs water, we can trade sewer capacity for water capacity. And that's a good use of the metering right there alone.
If you know what you got, you know what you can do.
Right.
Or you know what you can't do. What's in your chest of tricks. It's utilities. And
But that's relatively no cost to either one of us, but the meter is the cost, but it's gonna be beneficial for that purpose.
Yeah. I can talk specifically on the construction, because this project has been very direct for about a year, 2 years, sorry. I got a meeting in 40 minutes at Cal Lake, so that's why, sorry. Well, a year ago at this time, we did construction costs, and it was quite shocking to everybody on Cal Lake's board. And I spent probably 2-3 months trying to figure out what if we did it here, what if we did it there. Engineers, the only thing that we could come up with was taking the Saugatuck meter, moving it from the wastewater plant facility and moving it down to what we commonly call lift station 1, which is down by Mill Pond. And that was the same. Engineers looked at it and they said it's going to be the same because the same construction issues exist there as they exist up in the wastewater plant. So we stuck with the original engineering design, and then there's 9 months of discussions about cost sharing between a couple communities. I'm anticipating this project, and I'm hoping that this project will fly. It is a large dollar amount, but we also know in our discussions with engineers and construction costs are increasing astronomically in the past 2 years. Estimators are probably being beat up quite a bit because they're increasing what we're seeing on a quarterly basis about 25% a quarter. Anybody that's been trying to build a house could probably tell you that. We're seeing material costs skyrocket in the past year. One of our vendors lost before some things happened, and, so they were obligated to do it, and they lost money on one of the jobs for Cal Lake. If this project gets delayed another 6 months, 9 months, or a year, you can figure, try at least another additional third. And this, you know, I've tried to express to the Cal Lake Board is that we delay, this is a project that should have been happening 20 years ago.
It looks like you got 10% contingency in there, so if we were to approve this, we'd go with a not to exceed, so around 118,487. Would we get that money back from contingency if it's not used?
There is not a not to exceed, because there is a price that,
Why do you have contingency if that's the price?
there is, it's not me, I'm gonna try to relay the engineers.
It's 10% roughly, 11,680 you have in there for contingency.
So the engineers gave us a price for the construction management of the 4 meters. And they have their own contingency built in, and that's what is called, general conditions contingency, if something, a pipe doesn't fit or something like that. If they have to de-water more water, there's, you know, they have to do more dewatering than was planned. Then there is, another type of condition, and, off the top of my head, I can't think of it. That does not, Police and Vanderbrink will not cover that. It would be like if they start excavating and they find a mastodon bones, or
Right.
the federal government comes in and shuts down the construction, or, you know, burial grounds.
Right.
Those are kind of things that Police and Vanderbrink won't cover. They're like, hey, we have no control over that.
But we're installing these where existing infrastructure,
Yes.
so it's already, we've been there.
Those, right. But
So again, back to contingency, so that's,
we're factoring in the 10%, just in case, because we don't know.
and if it does, if you go under that contingency amount, you're saying you keep that 11,000, or we don't get any?
We don't, Cal Lake doesn't keep this.
Police and Vanderbilt keeps it?
So the Police and Vanderbrink on their construction, on their contracts, has their expenses, and that, their dollar amount is what's reflected in.
That's the 116,807.
Saugatuck Township will be, yes, 116,807. That's the dollar amount.
Right.
And then if there is a mastodon bone found,
Right.
site condition issues, there's an additional 10% for that.
Okay. But it is in addition to?
It is in addition to, in case, if mastodon bones are not found, then you don't get billed for it.
Okay, that's what I was asking, okay, so we won't get
Yes.
this.
Not like
It's a contingent if.
Well, you could go over the 116,807 for certain reasons, so there's no performance bonds or anything like that to hold them to completing the project for that amount.
Because of the complexity and because there's so many entities involved in this project, we have Douglas, Saugatuck, Lake Township, and the Saugatuck Township, and Cal Lake is heading that, because everybody felt that it was the most appropriate entity to do it, rather than each community do their own, which would have been fine with me, but everybody on Cal Lake's board was kind of looking at, let's just do it through Cal Lake. This format of a contract, I felt was more appropriate due to the unknowns, and I've done enough contracts. I told the contractors, I don't want, look folks, there is an ability in this resolution, and I told, this is what my conversation to Police and Vanderbrink. I'm not sticking my neck out for your guys' inability to figure things out. In these resolutions, there's an ability for me to go back to the community, ask, and approve additional funds. But that puts me at risk politically and more bickering, and I have to stand kind of like Switzerland sometimes, with a community, and I'm not, I told them up front, you guys need to build in some contingency in yours. I said, and they're bickering with me, well, there might be conditions, Daryl, that, I said, I understand that, and we can explain that, but that should be for an extreme condition. I don't want to have to come back to a community 3 times. if it's one thing to do it once for an item that's explainable, it's another thing, cause they'll ding me on one thing and then they'll have me keep on doing it. And I can't do it for Douglas, and then do it 3 times for Saugatuck Township.
So you're gonna manage the project for us, and we're gonna give you the, ability to review and approve change orders as well as invoices.
Yeah.
So we'd have to pay our engineer to do that.
Correct.
So there is a chance the cost could go up. Would that be attributed directly to our meter, or could it be any of the meters?
Should be specific to your meter.
That's fair.
You're not gonna get charged
Yeah.
for Douglas's or Lake County's or Saugatuck's. The thing is that when I say Saugatuck's, meter 1 and meter 3 are in the same chamber. This is the 2 birds, 1 stone efficiency. And it's up at the wastewater plant. So if something happens with this chamber, they're starting to excavate and put this chamber in for these 2 meters, and they find a mastodon bone, some sort of site condition issue, that cost, that contingency expense, is gonna be shared between both Saugatuck Township and the township in the city.
But you've dug there before.
This one area, you would think that a wastewater plant would know where all the pipes are.
Yeah.
On their drawings, there was contracts for the wastewater plant. Right where, there's only one good place to put a chamber with 2 meters, and it's right near the MDOT property and the low area of the Cal Lake. Like, when you drive down the highway, you see those berms. We're looking down here. We don't want to be you don't want to put vaults into a clay berm. It's a high risk, really high risk. Keep it down here. Those pipes come across, there was an end of a contract and the beginning of the next, and it doesn't show exactly where those pipes are. So that's kind of where Lisa Vanderbrink has said, okay, that's, there's some unknowns here, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. What was the question?
Oh, good, I'm just trying to identify if we're gonna approve this kind of money, we wanna make sure we've got ourselves covered. Whether or not we hold some contingency in that approval, we've got it in the fund, but.
What are the, payment terms to the 160?
One-time payment.
One time.
At the time of construction, or once the project kicks off?
Typically, significant conditions, Vanderbrink issues.
So if this gets approved by everybody,
So what I'm hearing from Lisa Vanderbrink right now is that they want to start, this project middle of February, be done by the 1st of April. There's a holdup right now. Nobody carries meters on their shelves anymore. Everything's,
No big box meters.
Amazon, no?
Manufacturing today is a lot different than it was 10 years ago. They manufacture on demand, put in the order, then they make it. So they're talking to like a 6 to 8 week time on the meter, and they're not going to start manufacturing the meter until they get the order. And Lisa Vanderbrink isn't going to put in the order until they have the contract.
So you're starting April 1st, and when do you complete?
They're thinking the meters will get installed sometime in either May. They're thinking May. I think that they will, without the meters, and if all the material things are there, meaning the bolts, the construction is done, all they have to do is wait for the meter to come in, to get installed. They will, and I would consent to this, that it's significant construction. Whether the meter is actually the smallest part of all this stuff. It's everything else that has to be done, just bringing a meter.
So we might see an invoice sometime June, July?
No, you're gonna see a significant construction should be done by April 1st.
That's when we'll see the invoice.
yet at Cal Lake, we have not firmed that up yet, whether, I know how Fleece and Vanderbilt is gonna wanna do it, and they will want to give out one invoice to Cal Lake, and then Cal Lake go out to the communities to knock on doors to get money, which is fine. It won't be fine if one community decides to, yeah, we said we would, but you know what, things changed, and I want you now, man.
So what's the total?
$500,000, just shy of $500,000, $499.
Okay.
Yep. Well, your anticipation is that the communities will have approved this agreement in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I saw that Township has another meeting on the 23rd scheduled.
Yes.
Yes, we can add this to the agenda.
I would add the sewer master meeting to that.
We've gone through legal review, it's fine. Just waiting for the final numbers, which have been inserted last week, so. All right, so you have to get to a meeting, and we have to do one more order of business. Anybody have any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darryl.
Thanks for coming by.
And understandable.
Yeah.
I try to keep it
You
simple.
were,
I can complicate it really bad if you want me.
no,
No, thank
next
you.
time. Next time.
All right,
Thanks.
thanks, folks.
Bye.
Thanks a lot, Darryl.
Yep.
So the last order of business is to get a temporary appointment to the Cal Lake Sewer and Water Authority, and I think based on these two projects, you can see why we want to make sure that we're represented equally, or as equally as possible, while the other communities are working with this entity.
Okay, with that said, I move to appoint Chris Rohrig as the temporary township representative to the Kalamazoo Lake Sewer and Water Authority.
I second the motion.
Discussion, why I said temporary is it really isn't a job for the manager of the township. It has always been, and rightfully so, because they're dealing with day-to-day infrastructure. So, if we're fortunate enough to get a manager on board in the next month, I would still represent while that person got up to speed, along with other demanding areas, but at least we'll be represented through a couple of important meetings and a wellhead meeting in February.
To that point, do we have a time frame expectation on a draft offer?
I'm hoping this week.
Just sometime this week.
I would hope so. Yeah, it's not extensive, so,
Great.
yeah.
I was just checking in, because
Yeah.
we're all anxious, obviously.
Yes, me too. But I would hope that maybe at that next meeting next week, we have something.
Okay.
What I'm waiting for is draft to come back to us, to the party.
Right.
Any comments back? That shouldn't be much, and then we'll have an agreement we can approve on the 23rd as well. So the two items we'll add to that are the master meter project and that, unless something else comes up, which hopefully won't.
Could be a good thing.
Yeah. So we'll go a roll call vote, and I'll let Abby call that.
Rohrig?
Yes?
Bigford, yes. Aldridge?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes?
Motion carried, 4-0. With no other business to conduct, I'll adjourn this meeting so I can get to Kelly. Thank you. John, I've got my taxes due, just.
Okay.
What do you do with that?
Do you have the top?
Yeah,
I'll put it on you, I stamp it.
Put it on your desk. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Manager.
So I posted, instructions in here,
Okay, good.
Chris, but, John and I are both trained on it now.
Yeah, we got instructions. I mean, look how clean, it's just, I'm sorry,
Very nice.
They're posted on the.
we just got to stock up on thumb
I
drive.
left a message for Carol Howard.
So is that connected to our Ethernet LAN?
I don't think so.
Is there an Ethernet port on the box that connects to our
There
LAN?
is. If you want, I can connect it, although for a system like this, I generally try to discourage it.
For overload?
Unless there's, you all will be here for the meetings, so, you know, if you wanna give someone else access at some point in the future, or maybe stream the meetings online, I suppose that can be done.
The reason I said Ethernet LAN is you just basically have it stored on the hard drive where you have it on the network, and there it's available, you know, to do the
That
transfer.
heat up a lot of.
It's heating up quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah, this,
In the gigabytes.
I
I don't know how much space we have on our server, I'd have to look at it. But, well, it's good to know. Either way, it's
Possible.
either way, it's gonna go on the server unless you're gonna go right from the drive to the cloud.
Well, the cloud is just someone else's computer,
Right.
really.
But my point is either way, it's, but just something to think about. But you do have an Ethernet port on there.
Okay.
Okay, absolutely, great.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
So we don't have our dump size yet.
That's okay. I told John I brought one along, I'm gonna put it in there, I'm gonna take it home and run it on the computer.
So this,
Mostly I was concerned about sound of it.
have
But
you,
of course, this was kinda,
this isn't typical, right,
Yeah.
with you. I know it's on the instruction, so the meeting's over, we haven't downloaded it yet, but what do we do? Just
well,
turn it on?